Our next lesson on the origins of Rome is about the conflict of the orders, and we're looking at the first secession. Okay, first a quiz on the previous lessons. What's a patrician? What's a plebeian? Why are the plebeians unhappy? So what do they do? And what's wrong with the story? All based on the previous lesson. Okay. First secession, 494, 492 BC. We call the events that led to the first secession. When you leave a political group, you are seceding. If one part of a country has to break away, become a separate country, they are seceding. If a group of people saying we're leaving, we are seceding. Veteran, somebody who's very experienced. Debt, creditor, you owe a debt to a creditor. Your bank lends you money, they are your creditor. Repossess, take your possessions. Appius Claudius, Publius Servilius are two consuls. Turmoil, lots of confusion, lots of violence, lots of trouble on the streets. Turmoil, revolt. Valerius is another Roman guy who was elected a dictator in this period. So, the story starts with the war veteran. The last battle of the Wars of Independence have been Lake Regillus, and I said in a previous lesson that was a very, very close fought thing, a very nasty battle. When it was over, a guy who'd been in the army, been in commander, came to the Senate and said, look, I'm in trouble here. To be in the wars, to fight in the wars, I'd had to leave my land, and so it fell in disrepair. To pay taxes, I'd had to borrow money to pay the tax the Senate wanted to fight the wars. Now the wars are over, the person who I owed the money to, I can't pay them. And so they want to whip me. They want to repossess my land. This is a terrible injustice. He said all this in public in Rome. Lots of people agreed with him. There was lots of trouble in Rome on the back of all this. People were very agitated about the unfairness of the whole situation. The guys in charge at the time, the two consuls, were Servilius and Appius. Probably Servilius, Appius Claudius. And then this is a story. Livy's telling a story. The good guy, the bad guy. Appius is the bad guy in the story. Servilius is the good guy in this part of the story. There's always that with Livy, he's telling a story, there's always good and bad. Yeah? Servilius wants to deal with this reasonably. He wants to make changes. He wants to help the plebeians. Appius is dead against this. So if we give them an inch, they'll take a mile. We've got to crush the revolt. So Servilius, as I just said, is quite keen to help. Now, during this period, Rome comes under attack by neighbours. They have no army because the plebeians won't fight because they're so angry about the way they've been treated. Servilius says, look, join my army. We will go and defend Rome, and when we're finished, we'll come back and I will speak to you and I'll fight for your rights. It works. He gathers an army and he goes off to fight. Appius does the opposite. He stays back in Rome, and while Servilius and the army's away, he carries on putting people in prison, repossessing their land. When the army is victorious and returns to Rome, Appius has men who've been in the army arrested because they owe money to patrician creditors. This causes tremendous turmoil and unrest in Rome. The plebeians won't anymore fight in any wars. Plebeians free men from their chains. Senators are attacked in the street. It's the closest Rome seems to have ever had to a civil war and a revolution. This, of course, leads Rome's neighbours to attack again. And they're attacked, and there's no army. The plebeians, point blank, won't fight in the army. So a dictator, Valerius, is appointed. And he says to the plebeians, look, let's fight, let's defend Rome, and when we're done, I will use my powers to talk to the Senate and get your problems dealt with. If it works, 10 legions volunteer. They fight and they win. But on Valerius' return to Rome, he speaks to the Senate and they point blank, again led by Appius, they point blank refuse to talk to him, they point blank refuse to make any reforms to relieve the debt on the plebeians, and Valerius resigns dictatorship in disgust. And we're back to square one, with the plebeians being extraordinarily upset with the way they're being treated.